What if I told you a single software update, just one, could bring down a global corporation, disrupt a nation's infrastructure, or expose millions of people's personal data? That's not a hypothetical. It's already happened. And it's happening more often than you think. Welcome to Quantum Cyber AI, where we unpack today's biggest cybersecurity threats and the tech shaping our future. Today, we're diving into one of the most critical and most overlooked areas in cybersecurity, the digital supply chain. Now, when people hear supply chain cybersecurity, they usually think about shipping ports or warehouse hacks. But this is something far more insidious. We're talking about the hidden web of software vendors, cloud services, IT contractors, and third-party tools that quietly power everything from your bank's fraud system to the Department of Defense's secure comms. And here's the terrifying part. If even one of those vendors gets hacked, it can take down everything downstream. Back in November 2024, Blue Yonder, a major supply chain software provider, was hit by a ransomware attack. Starbucks, Morrisons, and Sainsbury's were all impacted. Starbucks employees had to manually track hours. This wasn't some minor glitch. It was a full-blown operational crisis, all but because one third-party provider got breached. In 2025, digital supply chains have become so complex that even the most secure organizations can be compromised by a weak link outside their walls. According to Forbes, over 10 million people and 1,700 organizations were affected by supply chain breaches in 2022 alone. This isn't just a technical challenge, it's a leadership imperative. So let's break it down. First, what exactly is a digital supply chain? It's everything that sits between your organization and its digital functionality. Software vendors, cloud platforms, firmware providers, API integrations, even third-party contractors who have back-end access. Every one of those relationships is a possible attack vector. And here's the problem. Most organizations assume their vendors have equal or better security protocols. That assumption creates blind spots. Hackers know this. That's why they often bypass a hardened target and go after the softest link in its vendor chain. Take the SolarWinds breach in 2020. Hackers inserted malware into a routine software update. Yes, a simple update. And it spread to over 18,000 customers, including U.S. government agencies. That's the kind of scale and stealth supply chain attacks offer. A single foothold multiplied across thousands of networks. Let's look at the threat landscape in 2025. You've got the MOVEit breach, over 2,700 organizations affected, including Shell and U.S. government contractors. The Okta breach, sensitive access systems compromised via a third-party support firm. And Kaseya, 1,500 downstream clients hit through a remote management tool. In every case, the vendor became the launchpad, not the original target, but the enabler of massive cascading failures. Now let's talk attack vectors. First, there's open-source dependency poisoning. Hackers inject malicious code into widely used libraries, often unnoticed, until it's too late. Then there's the software update vector. We already saw this in SolarWinds and NotPetya. Trusted update channels used to deliver malware, stolen credentials, shadow IT, misconfigured integrations. All of these are cracks in the foundation. Cisco reports that in 2023 and early 2024, nearly 80% of breaches involve third-party components. That number is only going up, and no sector is safe. Critical infrastructure. Vendors supplying water and energy systems often have little to no security budget. Defense? Thousands of subcontractors with access to sensitive IP. Healthcare? Legacy systems and high regulatory stakes. Finance? Interconnected fintech platform, just one breach away from regulatory disaster. Attackers aren't storming the front door anymore. They're sneaking in through the side window left open by someone you hired. And AI? It's making things worse and better. Attackers now use AI to scan for vulnerabilities across thousands of vendors at once. They deploy phishing attacks tailored with deepfake voices. They bypass behavior-based security by mimicking real software patterns. Tools like WormGPT are generating phishing messages so convincing, even trained analysts are falling for them. But on the flip side, defenders are using AI too. Real-time anomaly detection, predictive risk scoring, behavioral baselining. AI lets CISOs track ecosystem risk across hundreds of vendors in real time. There's just one catch: explainability. Many AI systems act like black boxes. They flag issues without telling you why. And in regulated sectors, that's a big problem. You need audit trails. You need to justify every alert. That's where explainable AI, or XAI, comes in, combining predictive power with transparency. Let's revisit some major case studies. SolarWinds was a wake-up call for the federal government. Sunburst malware slipped through an update and infected the Department of Homeland Security, Treasury, and more. Estimated response cost? $100 million. MOVEit wasn't ransomware, it was straight data theft. Over 93 million individuals affected. The attackers? The CL0P ransomware group. They exploited a vulnerability and exfiltrated data from the Department of Energy, state governments, and global corporations. 10 day, hundreds of breaches. And NotPetya, a wiper disguised as ransomware. It came from an obscure Ukrainian accounting tool, but it shut down Maersk, Merck, TNT Express, and even Chernobyl's radiation monitors. Total damage? $10 billion globally. So what can be done? First, vendor risk management must evolve. No more check-the-box audits. You need continuous oversight. Adopt frameworks like NIST SP 800-161. Require third-party certifications like SOC 2 or ISO 27001. Use real-time scoring tools to monitor risk exposure. And go beyond trust. Zero trust architecture is critical. Grant least privilege. Micro-segment networks. Enforce access control at every level, especially for vendors. Also, require SBOMs, software bills of materials. These tell you what's inside every piece of software, which dependencies, which vulnerabilities. Executive Order 14028 made SBOMs mandatory for U.S. federal contractors, and the model is spreading globally. Then there's incident response. If a vendor is breached, you need a playbook ready to go. Who do you contact? What systems do you isolate? Which regulatory disclosures are triggered? Run simulations. Don't just write documents, test them. Finally, we can't ignore the policy landscape. The US is pushing hard. SBOM mandates, NIST standards, endpoint detection tools. The EU has the Cyber Resilience Act. Japan has amended its Cybersecurity Act. But here's the problem. These rules don't align. The patchwork is growing, and attackers love jurisdictional gray zones. Until global coordination improves, organizations should apply the most stringent overlapping standards across the board. Cyber insurance is also changing. Carriers are raising premiums and denying claims if your third-party security isn't up to par. And courts are starting to hold companies liable for breaches that originate from vendors, especially if basic safeguards were missing. This is no longer a shared responsibility, it's shared liability. So what's next? Expect 3 big shifts. 1. Transparency will be mandatory. No SBOM, no contract. 2. Real-time AI monitoring will become the baseline, not the bonus. And 3. Legal and financial liability for vendor breaches will keep rising. Bottom line, supply chain cybersecurity is no longer optional. It's mission critical. If your organization isn't investing in vendor security, AI-powered monitoring, and compliance alignment, you're already behind. For more in-depth breakdowns on cybersecurity, tech policy, and AI-driven threats, subscribe to Quantum Cyber AI. We post weekly content designed to help leaders protect what matters. Like the video, drop a comment with your biggest supply chain security concern, and share this with a colleague who manages third-party vendors. Stay safe out there.